What's up, guys? Welcome to First Possession on CRYOUT TV. I am your host, John Iagoro, and I'm here with my partner, Mr. David Ogedembe. A lot of great games this weekend in the NFL, a lot of playoff games, but, we're going to be talking all things sports. James Harden's debut, we're going to be talking about that also. But first of all, let's dive right into the most intriguing matchup of the NFL playoffs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints.
Man, tough.
Very interesting games, but, if you're a New Orleans fans today, you're probably not happy, but,
Not at all.
Hope for the future. Maybe Drew retires and now you get a young, athletic quarterback, but let's dive straight right into it. And my friend, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think this game was more about Tom Brady or Drew Brees?
I think it should be clear it's about Drew Brees. Drew Brees was awful.
He played bad.
He played awful.
He played bad.
And it's crazy because right before the game, I had tweeted, I was like, because the Saints put out this montage, they were like, it looked like inspirational, all this and that, as if they're about to go to the Super Bowl. As if they're about to go to the Super Bowl. I quoted it and I was like, bro, they're really making this montage all so they can choke.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Saints do. It's in their culture to choke every year in the playoffs, whether it's against the Rams, whether it's against the Vikings, twice. Minneapolis Miracle.
Exactly.
Like, no matter what, they choke. I remember years ago, after they won the Super Bowl, which a lot of people kind of look at it as a fluke, I remember the year after that, they lost to the Seahawks, who had a losing record that year coming into the playoffs. They just have a history of choking, and that culture can just carry over. They're hanging on to that Super Bowl that they won over a decade ago, and they think it's going to happen again. Let me tell you right now, Saints fans, those years are done. Actually, that year is done. And when the news broke that Drew Brees was retiring before the game, I was like, man, he's going to play terrible. Yeah. Because when you're already mentally thinking about retiring, you're halfway doing it.
Yeah,
you're already there.
Halfway out the door, halfway in.
Halfway in. You can't have that kind of mentality. And we all kind of suspected this was probably going to be Drew's last year anyways. But when you just look at the game, 55% completion, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. I will admit, the last interception was tipped, and it was he was just trying to make something happen.
He threw it into traffic, though.
Yeah, he threw it into traffic. He was throwing a lot of coverage passes, a lot of tough passes for these receivers, and that affected a lot of them. But Jared Cook, you got to be better, man. That fumble that he had completely killed the momentum of them, And not only that, Michael Thomas, no receptions, no touchdowns, nothing. He had a couple drops here and there too. Like, you gotta be better than that. People are calling you Slant Thomas now.
Slant boy.
Slant boy.
Wow.
And there's truth to that. I will admit there's truth to that. But I also think a lot of that is because Drew's arm is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it all falls back on the Saints. Like, they have this culture of just underperforming every year in the playoffs. And I feel like they looked ahead of the Bucs because they beat them twice already in the regular season.
Blew them out twice.
Yeah, destroyed them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Drew has to be better than that. Yeah. This is his last game, and for good reason, because this was not a good performance. He couldn't even throw the ball past 20 yards.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when your quarterback can't do that, we were just talking about Big Ben last week, unable to throw the ball down the field. And Drew's arm even looks worse than Big Ben's. But to all the Saints fans out there, shout out to my boy DeMarco, Rodney. Yep. I told y'all this was going to happen, and look at what happened. Y'all are back on the couch like us. Didn't even get a playoff win just like us.
Hey, maybe, Jameis has learned, and maybe they can be better than this.
And I want to touch on that real quick. The fact that they didn't put Jameis in the game when Jameis had the best play throughout the entire game.
Sean Payton, that was just ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And I understand, you're fearful of Jameis's bad passes, but Drew threw 3 interceptions yesterday.
Jameis can give you that and 3
He can give you that, and he can give you 3 touchdowns. He had a 1-on-1 touchdown ratio last year. He did. And he had issues with his eyesight. The offense was completely different in Tampa. They force you to do things that you're not comfortable with. They utilize a running game in New Orleans more than they do in Tampa last year. So I don't think it's the same situation. James could have came in, given them a big spark because they needed it. Yeah. They needed it. Taysom Hill was even out also. Yeah, that takes away some variety in their offense, especially with the running game and some of the stuff they can do with the passing game with him. So to me, I just think the Saints, it's in their culture and in their blood to be chokers, and they showed it yet again last night.
Yeah.
And I don't even blame the defense too much because when your quarterback gives up the ball 3 times and Jared Cook fumbles, there's only so much you can do.
I mean, I totally understand you of the Saints, but when I was watching the game, I'm like, man, like, who's 43 and who's 42? Tom Brady was making Drew Brees look like 60 yesterday. The way Drew Brees was awful. But I would like to talk more about Tom Brady because this man is 43, and the things he's doing right now, like, you're supposed to be on the couch playing golf. He should not be in the league right now. I thought he was done last year after last year's playoff performance, but he looked sharp yesterday. He still throws a very good ball, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yesterday he had 18 for 33, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 92 passer rating. That's pretty good for a 43-year-old. And the Bucs defense played absolutely phenomenal, but Tom Brady didn't lose them the game.
Yeah.
Tom Brady against Washington, a top 5 defense, shredded them apart, threw for over 300 yards, 381 yards. And against the Saints, another top 5 defense, he played pretty well. And, I think it's time we start giving, I told you about playoff Tom. He's the real deal. And I think it's about time we start crediting Tom Brady for how much work he has put in the offseason on his body, as a totality, and what he's able to do at this stage of his career. He's in his 21st year, and he's still doing this. He threw for over 4,000 yards this season and for over 40 touchdowns. Tom Brady, at some point, I don't know if he's going to play to his 50, but at this rate, who's going to know with this guy? He loves football, loves playing the game, and, I think Tom Brady, he played outstanding yesterday, and he didn't lose the Bucs the game. And I think, it's time we give him credit because, we all talked about Tom. He's washed, he's this, he can't move. Tom is 43. He's not scrambling past 5 yards. Don't expect him to because he's not going to do it. Exactly. But, he can stay in the pocket, make smart passes. And, Chris Godwin, my goodness, Tom Brady could have had he was good yesterday. Tom Brady was good against the Saints, but he could have been better if Chris Godwin would have caught some passes because he dropped a lot of passes. He dropped about 3. He dropped one in the end zone, dropped a couple of first down passes. Gronk dropped one also in the in the end zone. Tom Brady could have had a way better game statistically, than he had. But, I think he played great. And like I said earlier on, he made Drew Brees look like Drew Brees was 60 years old because of how wide the gap was, in the quarterback margin. But, Saints fans, Drew Brees is done. Show him all the love you can. Let's hope Jameis can be not 30 for 30 again, something similar to what Drew Brees. That year under Drew Brees, I think that has, made him.
And Drew did tell him on the sideline, he was like, hey, next year is your
it's
turn.
Your team now. It's your team now.
Hey, well, we all know it's just his team to choke. It's in their culture, bro.
But Saints fans, you shouldn't be sad because Jameis is still a mid quarterback, and with a good defense and a great running back with Alvin Kamara, a mid quarterback will thrive.
You can't just say they shouldn't be sad because think about it, bro. This was Drew's last year.
I told you before the playoffs started. The Saints, they do this every year. They have hope, and they somehow find a way to choke. It just matters how do they choke. How do they choke it away?
I didn't expect that.
How do the Saints choke the ball game away? Oh, is it the referee calling a bad call? Is it Drew Brees throwing an interception? Is it pass interference? Is it this or that? They will somehow find a way to choke the game away.
Or is it Marcus Williams?
Exactly.
Doing a stupid, trying to tackle him from behind.
You just know with the Saints.
Wrap him up.
Hey, enjoy that one Super Bowl. Who knows when next is going to come?
We
don't know, but just enjoy that. But anyways, that phenomenal game, very fun game to watch, Now the Bucs move on to the NFC Championship where they will be playing Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Whew, that's going to be
Brady and Rodgers. We have not seen that before.
Is it the GOAT debate or who knows? Who knows? But anywho, transitioning into another game yesterday, the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. Oof, the Ravens looked disgusting yesterday.
Awful.
Very bad. But
3 points.
But let's talk about Lamar Jackson versus the Bills defense. Josh Allen. Would you solely blame this loss on Lamar Jackson?
Yeah. Wow. Not solely, but if you had to put a name on it, I think you have to put it on Lamar because for one, he's the quarterback of the team. You're the leader. You're the face. And not only that, but he was 14 of 24 yesterday. He threw for 162 yards. He had an interception, and that interception was very costly.
Yeah,
very costly.
Big play.
I understand, I think it was Tavon Johnson. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But it's actually funny. He was that meme.
Yeah, he was.
He was
in
the
draft
meme
combine
of the guy who got hit with the ball in the head. And now he's the guy who made the game-winning play and helped the Bills get to their first AFC championship.
Actually, 97?
Yeah, it's been years since they've made the AFC championship. I remember those years where they made 4 straight Super Bowls and didn't even get one. But regardless, I think that the defense was great, obviously, for the Bills. You have to give them credit. Josh Allen didn't even play his best game.
He did not.
And I think that when you have a game like this where the opposing team, you know what they're capable of, and they're not even on, you have to be able to step up. And Lamar, as a passer, how many times have I said consistently, he is not a great passer? The guy is not very accurate. He doesn't throw the ball down the field that much, and whenever he does, you know it's not good. And whenever he actually completes a ball, like past 20 yards, people will post it on Twitter and swear he's a great thrower of the ball. They'll use one play to justify all the criticisms at him. And look, I don't think that teams are incapable of winning with Lamar. I don't believe that it's impossible to win a playoff game. But I think that with Lamar's play style, it's easy to game plan because you know what he's going to do. You know he's not going to throw the ball down the field. And if he does, you know it's not going to be very accurate. And you can take advantage of the moments that he does throw the ball like a lot and he's forced to throw, like that situation with Johnson picking him off in the end zone. And I also believe that whenever you get down in a game, like in that situation, he has to throw the ball down the field. You know, and imagine if they're playing the Chiefs. Just imagine if Mahomes, because I hate to say this because everything runs through Kansas City. We all know that. So if they won that game, they faced Kansas City the next week. And Kansas City, we know they're a guaranteed 30 every time they step on the field. The only reason they didn't drop 30 last night was because Mahomes got hurt. So as far as I'm concerned, like he has to be able to throw the ball down the field to put himself in the name of elite quarterbacks. Because I still do not consider him an elite quarterback. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, DeShaun Watson, all 5 of those guys are my elite quarterbacks. And all 5 of those guys can kill you with their legs, but they also kill you with their arms. And Lamar Jackson is just unable to do that. Maybe he can, because I also think they need to give him better weapons. Mark Andrews, a drop in the end zone, unacceptable. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, not Hollywood whatsoever. That man is not number 1. And we even talked about it earlier. He's not even a number 2. He needs to be better. Maybe he's just incapable of being that. And even on the ground, Lamar did not even have the best game. 9 carries for 34 yards, less than 4 yards a carry. That's unacceptable.
They packed the box.
They packed the box, and they forced him to be something that he's not. You get what I'm saying? Edwards had to step up. Dobbins had to step up. And, you know, they just couldn't get the job done. And also, even on that pick 6, show more effort, bro. Show more effort.
Oh, come on.
Show more
he got blocked.
No,
he had a convoy
show more
running.
effort.
Hey,
you love to run so much. Run after the guy who just picked you off, bro.
Look, okay, I'm not making an excuse for Lamar Jackson. That pick was a costly one at a very vital moment in the game. But I'm going to blame the people above him.
Oh, my God.
GMs.
No.
The presidents of football operations.
Come on, man.
First of all, yes, the offense was designed for Lamar in that, but it's only so much you can run the ball in the NFL. At some point, some guys are going to start daring you to throw the ball. They packed about 8 guys in the box yesterday, the Bills. They literally said, well, you're not going to run the ball. You're going to have to throw it over our head. And for some reason, who do the Ravens have at wide receiver? These are the names Lamar Jackson was throwing the ball to yesterday. Marquise Brown, 4 receptions for 87 yards. Most of those yards was not even when Lamar Jackson was in the game. Mark Andrews,
very true,
a tight end. Willie Snead, the 4th, a very mid-wide receiver.
He's a solid slot receiver, though. He's a solid slot guy.
J.K. Dobbins, a running back. I just named 1 wide receiver Lamar Jackson was throwing the ball to. And that wide receiver, like we just mentioned, not a number 1 guy and not a number 2 guy. He's a number 3 guy, Hollywood Brown. He doesn't step up in the big moments. You remember he complained about how, you know, he doesn't get the ball, this and that.
Yeah.
But when they throw you the ball, you don't catch the ball.
Yeah, he drops a lot of passes.
He drops a lot of passes. And, you know, and I think, it will be convenient to come in and say, oh, Lamar played poorly. Yes, he played poorly, but you also have to give him the benefit of the doubt. Who was he throwing the ball to?
Excuses.
Who was he really throwing the ball to?
No.
So the Ravens' number one priority this offseason, get Lamar Jackson an actual number one receiver. First of all, Hollywood Brown, he's like, what, 5'10"-ish? He's not even tall. Like, that can be your number one guy. You can't complain about Lamar Jackson's passing if you haven't given him the right pieces to make his passing game better. Yes, some quarterbacks, they look better when they have top receivers. Like we see DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray. He was in early MVP conversations and that's what happens when you give your quarterback quality pieces. They thrive. With Lamar Jackson, if he's an average passer, if you get him a top quality receiver, that takes him just a slight bit above average. That, makes his passing game better.
Passer?
I think he's about an average passer, but when you give him a quality receiver, that takes him just a tad bit to an all right, good passer. And I think that's what the Ravens have to do, because at some point, you're going to have to just scrap the book on this running game, because, yes, it works. Hey, some guys, they go on the regular season, they go party on a Friday night, and they're just too tired to tackle on Sunday. But when it comes to the playoffs, everybody's dialed in, everybody's locked in. They put 8 guys in the box and say, you're not running the ball, you have to throw it ahead of us. If you're a secondary, right? If you're a cornerback or a safety, is Hollywood Brown scaring you? No. Are you worried about Hollywood Brown? Absolutely not. But if you get Lamar Jackson, a number one guy, not only does that open up the field more for the running game, that helps Lamar Jackson improve as a passer. And I think that's what the Ravens have to do this offseason by providing Lamar Jackson with an actual number one guy, because Hollywood Brown is not that guy.
And Des Bryant is also not that guy.
Don't get me started with that. You can't, because another thing, the Ravens, they had a chance to get Antonio Brown. When he was still off the market, Antonio Brown was still there. He could be a number one guy for Lamar Jackson. He could be that guy that Lamar Jackson can, a deep threat. But no, you go pick up Des Bryant. It's 2021. What the hell is Des Bryant going to do in a playoff game?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely
but, like I said, it's so convenient to just blame Lamar Jackson. He played poorly. Like I said, that pick was a very vital one at a very crucial point in the game. But still, we have to think about the pieces around him and who he was throwing the ball to. There was only so much he was going to do in a passing game with that. Yes, they beat the Titans like that, but, as you move up, you get to the divisional round, you get to the championship game, it gets a lot harder.
And that Titans defense is not
exactly.
good.
The Bills' defense is legit.
It's legit.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't put that loss solely on Lamar Jackson. I'm not giving him excuses also, because that loss was a costly one.
That interception, you can't just excuse that.
It was a costly one.
Because they didn't even need 50 yards.
I'll give you that.
They didn't need 50 yards.
I rewatched that play about 5 times. Nobody was open.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Go rewatch the play.
That's no excuse to throw in the coverage.
They rushed 4 guys and dropped about 7 guys. They ran 4 guys in the wide receiver: Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins, Willie Snead, and Hollywood Brown. Go watch the play over and over. He had nowhere to throw the ball. Nobody was open. It was either going to be incomplete or a pick 6. Well, not a pick 6, but a pick.
It was a pick 6 for sure.
It turned into a pick 6, and the Ravens got to get him some weapons on offense. If you get him a receiver, a quality receiver, and now he plays bad, you say, okay, yes, we know you're that bad as a passer. But if you get him a quality receiver and he plays good, then, that helps him get better. That improves his game. So I think that's got to be number one on the Ravens board. Get Lamar Jackson, an actual guy. There's some good pieces out there on the market.
There's some
Kenny
solid
Galladay, they can get him. Allen Robinson for the Bears, they can get him. There are a couple of guys you can get. Will Fuller, if the Texans decide to release him, that's another deep threat.
They probably are.
Exactly. There are some pieces out there that the Ravens can get, because you're not going to run if you say Lamar Jackson is your franchise quarterback, and you're going to have him for the next 10 years. You're not banking on him running the ball for the next 10 years. You're going to have to get him with some actual receivers, get him some quality guys, and make his passing game thrive. And I think if they don't do that, and he keeps throwing the ball to J.K. Dobbins and Hollywood Brown for the next 5 years, we're going to keep getting this repetitive thing of him choking in the playoffs. But, that's just my take on the Ravens-Bills game. And to be fair, I don't even know why people are looking at this like the Bills played great. They did not. The Ravens held their own.
Because we know good teams find ways to win.
Exactly. The Bills' offense, as explosive as we have claimed them to be, they scored 10 points. Yeah. 1 field goal, 1 touchdown.
They got to be better.
Exactly.
Because that's not going to cut it against the Chiefs.
Exactly. So, I mean, the Ravens held their own, but, obviously the pick six was a crucial one, and that kind of swung the game. But anyway,
that killed the moment.
Yeah, that killed the moment. But like I said, Ravens get Lamar some receivers, some good ones too, because Hollywood Brown, he's not that guy. And then his passing game will thrive. But anyways, we move on to another game in the playoffs, Chiefs versus Brown. First of all, we wish Patrick Mahomes all the best, and we wish he's healthy.
Yes,
because
sir.
we would all love to watch Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game against the Bills. So we're just sending our prayers and thoughts and hoping he's okay. But the other team they beat, the Browns. The Browns are no longer the Browns anymore. I'll tell you that much because they looked good. We're going to talk about that rule, that play, the touchback play, all of that. We're going to dive straight into that. Chiefs versus Browns. Baker, Patrick Mahomes. Hey, let's not forget the hand god. No, Chad Henne. Anyways, let's dive right into that. Do you think the Browns lost this game or the Chiefs won it?
I think the Chiefs were just. It's hard because
Yeah, I tell you that. Yes,
I think,
it is.
I think the Chiefs more so won the game.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the Browns did get screwed in certain moments. And
a rule is a rule.
The rule is the rule.
A rule is a rule.
A rule is a rule. And because that the helmet hit, is not reviewable, which is ridiculous. I don't get how that's not reviewable. They got to fix that. I also think that they screwed the NFL screwed themselves when they started making like penalties reviewable and all that. That's when they screwed themselves over. But regardless, I think the Chiefs won it because when you lose Patrick Mahomes, you know the momentum is going to swing so far back into the Cleveland side. And Cleveland they already made it competitive. They went to 17 points. They made it 17-22. And when Hen got in the game, Henny, let me just call him Henny. When Henny got in the game, that interception he threw was a killer. Oof. Cleveland had a chance to win the game. They had a chance. They got the ball.
Come down and score.
I thought they were going to do the same thing, and they didn't. They couldn't get the job done on that drive, and then they gave Henny back the ball. And I believe, what was it, 3rd and 20? Or
third and 14.
3rd and 14,
yeah.
And they let him scramble for 13 yards? 13 yards. He should not be doing that.
He's not even that mobile.
Exactly. He's not. And I understand they gave up a lot of space because they wanted to prevent the pass.
Yeah.
But still, somebody get down the field and tackle this guy. Yeah. And how many times did we see missed tackles? The Browns' defense is awful. They are terrible. And they are very fortunate that Mahomes didn't give them 30 before he even got out the game. And to me, I just feel like the Browns had opportunities and the Chiefs just played better because even when Henny got in the game, after that last play call was a very, very smart play call. I think Andy Reid showed a lot of people that coaching matters a lot in the NFL because that last play, people didn't even think they were going to snap the ball. Yeah. Then they snap it and they hit Tyreek Hill for a quick, I think it was like 3-4 yard completion. Quick slant. And that was a really smart play call. I love that play call from Andy Reid. He showed yet again why he's one of the best play callers in the NFL, one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think a lot of people look at that Chiefs team and they're like, okay, that Chiefs team, without Patrick Mahomes, they're still a good team. But Patrick Mahomes makes them unbeatable. And I think that showed yesterday because a lot of people think that anybody can just go to Kansas City and be great. Yeah. And that's somewhat true. You can have success, but to win a Super Bowl is a whole different level of success. And Mahomes, he takes them to that extra stratosphere. And I think that was on full display in the game against the Browns.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, speaking of that last play, Andy Reid, I tweeted about this. Andy Reid has something some of my friends would call cojones. What gutsy play. Like I thought, oh, they're going to try to draw them off sides. They're going to do something, maybe quarterback sneak, whatever. All of the plays I thought was going to happen at that moment, none of that happened. Andy Reid literally said, I'm going to throw the ball, I'm going to throw it here, and that's exactly what he did. Very gutsy play. Hey,
it paid off.
It paid off. If he had missed that play, who knows what would have happened. But, Andy Reid plays to win. He doesn't play not to lose. You know what I'm saying? And, but I think Cleveland Browns fans, they're more upset than the Chiefs fans are more happy because the game was there for the taking. It was literally right there. You got an interception. The score was 17-22. And now all you literally have to do is march down the field and score. And it's something we know about the Chiefs' defense. It's a lot more improved that a lot of people want to give them credit for, but it's still not the best defense. You can score on them easily. It's not that hard. Yeah. Cleveland literally did it multiple times. I think there was only about 2 punts in the entire game, one by each team. So it was not much defense being played. I know it was a low-scoring game, 22-17.
And also,
but
I don't mean to cut you off, but the Chiefs only had 4 possessions in the first half.
Exactly.
And they scored 19 points.
There was not much offense being played, but we talk about the play, the one in the end zone of the touchback and whatnot. I mean, we would like to have a discussion about it all day, but a rule is a rule.
Exactly. I don't know why people were complaining about that.
It was not reviewable. It was a touchback, and that's just the rule.
They still had a chance to win.
I don't make the rules, so don't get mad at me. That's just the rule, Cleveland fans.
Eat it up, Browns. Eat it up.
But Browns fans, let me make you feel better. I would call this season a success for the Cleveland Browns. Why? Because we didn't even expect them to make it this far.
Yeah.
We thought, okay, maybe they'll be about 9-7-ish.
8-8.
Most of us didn't even have to make it in the playoffs.
I didn't either.
But they finished the season 11-5. They make the playoffs, and then they win a playoff game to add on to that. And then now you're in a battle with the defending champs. I tweeted about this also. Kevin Stefanski, he's doing a hell of a job in Cleveland, who I think is my coach of the year. I think he should win it. Okay, Baker's a lot more mature when, being a grown-up in the locker room. Now they've got a running game. I always say this. When you give a mid-quarterback an elite running game, they take another step. They move to another level. When you give a mid-quarterback an elite wide receiver, they move to another level. And I think that's what happens with Cleveland, because last year, the Browns, they had Nick Chubb, but they also brought Kareem Hunt into the picture. Now they have a dynamic duo at running back. They bring in Kevin Stefanski, who's a grown-up, who calls some phenomenal plays. They beat the Titans. He beat the Titans from his basement at home. You know what I'm saying? But, the Steelers rather, but Browns fans, there's a lot of hope for the future. You're going to be a Super Bowl contender, I think, for the next 5 years. The AFC is going to be tough, but I think the Browns, and we talk about their defense, they've got playmakers on the defensive end.
No. That defense sucks.
Myles Garrett.
That's literally it.
Denzel Ward in the backfield. He's pretty good. He's not. He's a good piece for them. But, I think when you add all the pieces together and you look at the trajectory for this Browns team, the future is very bright, Cleveland fans. The future is bright.
I know you did not.
Baker's more matured. Kevin Stefanski's he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
The Browns, they can fix the defensive issues in the draft.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
Just say that.
They can fix that in the draft. But if they fix that, I don't see that much weakness in this team.
Actually, I want to say,
Cleveland Browns, be excited. That's all I'm saying.
Before we go to break, I actually want to say to Baker Mayfield, I somewhat owe you an apology.
Hey, yes, you do. You sure do.
I looked at Baker as this very mid quarterback, and I still don't see him as a Mahomes or a Josh Allen type of guy. He's not there, but he deserves his respect.
Yeah, definitely.
He deserves his respect. He's definitely a solid quarterback that can be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I also believe that you do have to have the pieces around him for him to be successful and to maximize his potential. But I just think that what he's done over the past couple of weeks, he's been amazing, man. Yeah, he has the chemistry with Jarvis Landry. The running backs with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, they've been phenomenal this year. Huge help for him. And I think that he can keep getting better. And maybe he can improve to becoming potentially, if not elite, borderline elite type of quarterback, because you see the talent, you see the arm, and he's been showing up.
Absolutely.
He's been showing up in the clutch. He is definitely not the reason that they lost that game yesterday.
No, definitely not.
He showed up and he did his part.
We talk about on the field him being a better quarterback, but also off the field.
You can see the
maturity.
He's a leader.
Exactly.
A legit leader.
Being that voice in the locker room and a quarterback. Last year he was, all the antics and all the this and that. But, this year he's a lot more mature. And I think he's only going to get better on the field as a quarterback and off the field as a leader. So, I would be very excited if I'm a Cleveland fan. But, you still got Mahomes in the AFC. You still got Josh Allen.
And watch out for
DeShaun Watson.
San Diego. They're coming.
The Chargers, Justin Herbert, all those guys. It's going to be tough in the AFC for the next 5 to 10 years.
It's coming.
Whoever gets out the AFC has earned it. I'll tell you that. But anyways, We're going to be right back as we dive more into the NFL playoffs. Aaron Rodgers. Woof.
Woof. Bad man.
That is a bad man. We're going to get right into that when we come back for commercial. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As we dive into more NFL, we just talked about some of the NFL games, the Bucs, Saints, the Chiefs, Browns, the Ravens, Bills, but we're going to talk about the last game of the weekend, the Packers versus the Rams. Aaron Rodgers, 32 points against the number 1 NFL scoring defense. What was that about? How was Aaron Rodgers able to shred the Rams defense so bad?
I just think because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
I mean,
it's not even look, we always talk about the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, and sometimes some people just think, oh, you're just kissing his ass, all this and that, taking it for granted. But no,
the man is games.
When you watch Aaron Rodgers, he does things that you never see coming. You know, that's why the only person that's really comparable to him is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
because they can put the ball in places that you never think it's possible. You know, and against the best defense in the NFL,
literally,
when they got a line that has guys like Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, you know, the great offensive line, great secondary. Shout out to Jalen Ramsey. He even held his own against Devontae Adams. Yeah. But Rodgers still picked them apart with passes to Lazard, Scandling. He was destroying them. The man completed 64% of his passes, threw for nearly 300 yards, along with 2 touchdowns. Obviously, 0 interceptions because we know that man, if he throws an interception, something is wrong.
Yep.
But, yeah, man, Rodgers is just that talented. And I also believe the Rams, they're a great team. They're a really good collective team, but Jared Goff is not 100%. We all know that. And, you know, Akers, as good as he is, and Akers had a pretty solid game too, but as good as he is, he's not going to be able to compete with Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the ball. And, I just think that Aaron Rodgers is just that dominant, and he can make certain receivers look way better than they actually are.
I didn't even know most of these guys before they got there. I mean, I was like,
I didn't know who Lazard was. I didn't know who Scandling was. And Rodgers is out here throwing dimes to these guys. You know, I'm talking like Chris Paul, LeBron James dimes on the field. He is incredible as a passer. And I also believe that as good as the Rams defense is, when your offense isn't giving you much, you have to be on the field so much. And they just eventually got worn out. You know, I remember that pump fake he did on Leonard Floyd. That was incredible when he ran it in. Rodgers, like I said, that's a different breed. Yeah. He's a different breed for sure.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, Aaron Rodgers is probably only one other person you can compare him to, which is Patrick Mahomes. And, you know, comparing somebody to Patrick Mahomes, that's saying a lot, you know. But, I mean, my goodness. Only twice in Aaron Rodgers' career has he thrown double digits interceptions. 13, 11. This is his 19th year or so. No, this is his 16th year. 13 as a starter, but 3 in the NFL. So 16 as a whole. Only twice has he thrown double-digit interceptions. So that tells you he doesn't throw the ball away to the other team. He doesn't give you the ball. But Aaron Rodgers was great. Don't get me wrong. But I would like to talk about Jared Goff. And I think while I was watching that game, yes, he wasn't 100%, but I think that game basically showed me that Jared Goff is a very mid quarterback and very overrated.
Wow.
Overrated.
Wow.
He deserved that money, don't get me wrong, but when they have him being compared to guys like DeShaun Watson, I don't think he's on DeShaun Watson's level. He throws a beautiful ball, don't get me wrong, but
Great arm.
But with a play call like Sean McVay and that defense and the weapons he has on offense, he should do more than he has done. Yes, they made that one Super Bowl or whatnot. But
he choked anyway.
It's only 3 points. Yeah. I mean, come on. In the biggest of games of Jared Goff's career, he has not come through. And, you know, I think, now there are questions about him being the quarterback for the Rams. Yes, Sean McVay said, you know, he's our quarterback.
Come on, man. How you gonna do that?
Hey, there have been reports that they might be looking for other quarterbacks, somebody, you know, that can maybe take some of the pressure off Jared Goff. But, you know, I think he's a very mid quarterback. He could have played a whole lot better. What was his numbers yesterday? He had about 206 yards yesterday. That's not good. And the Green Bay Packers, I wouldn't. What they have the Smith brothers, but their defense is not.
It isn't unstoppable.
It's not unstoppable.
It's kind of middle of the pack.
You can score on the Green Bay Packers
yeah.
defense, but I think he could have played better. Yes, but with the defense, it's only so much you can do. But how healthy was Aaron Donald? We don't know.
I mean, that's not fair though. That's not fair because look, when it comes to Jared Allen. He's
Jared Goff.
Excuse me, I got my paper mixed up. Jared Goff. He's not an elite guy. He's not a DeShaun Watson. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. And I get that. And
would you put him in like Baker's class? That's like very mid.
I wouldn't do that. He made a Super Bowl.
I wouldn't put him in the elite. Okay, maybe the Dak Prescott in that class with the Carson Wentz.
But you're getting on him because he still has a Super Bowl to his name. Like the Rams,
Super Bowl appearance, my guy.
Of course, but how many guys can you say that in the NFL right now?
Fair enough, but still, are we gonna bank on that for the next 5 years?
No, but you said that they should think about moving on from him. They were just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They had a great year this year.
With all the weapons he has.
He came off of a surgery to start the playoffs. They got a playoff win over the Seahawks in a game that he didn't play the best, but he played good enough, and he actually made some very key throws. So I don't think you should just let go of him just because they couldn't.
Not let go of him, but maybe bring somebody in that can make him step up his game.
Like a backup?
Like a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Somebody of that caliber. I'm just saying. We know with young quarterbacks, they tend to get ahead of themselves. They think they're starting. But when you bring somebody in that can maybe challenge them for that spot, maybe not somebody to take the franchise over because he's their franchise quarterback. They paid him all their money, so he's their guy. But I'm saying bring in somebody, not that he can learn from because he's already – I won't call him a vet, but he's not a rookie. He's not young. He's been in the league long enough. Yeah. But bring somebody in that can take some of the pressure off of him in some games. Because Sean McVay, the plays he calls, you're like woof. Like this team should be a top 2 team in the NFC every single year, at least for the next 5 years with the weapons they have on offense and defense. This team should be making noise every year. But the last 2 years, they've disappointed. But I think they'll be better next year. But Jared Goff, some questions are going to start arising in Los Angeles.
I don't know. I think you're being a little too harsh on him, bro.
I'm just
saying.
At
the end of the day, I know the Super Bowl appearance was just 2 years ago, but at the end of the day, a lot of these guys don't got that on their resume,
They scored 3 points in the Super Bowl.
Of course, but
that's very bad.
Getting there is still an accomplishment in its own compared to all these other quarterbacks.
Absolutely. I'll give you that. But we just talked about teams from the playoffs. The Rams are going home. Browns are going home. Ravens are going home. The Saints are going home. Now it's down to the 4 teams left. All world-class quarterbacks. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. 3 of those guys are top 3 in the MVP conversation.
We're so close to that Rodgers and Mahomes.
Oh, we're so close. So close to the State Farm Bowl.
Yes, sir. We're so close.
But anyways, let's transition into a team that have been making so much noise but are not in the playoffs. The Houston Texans, DeShaun Watson, apparently wants out. There are reports that he might have played his last football for the Houston Texans. Do you think the Texans should just trade him because he's unhappy or keep him and try to work things out with him?
If I'm the Texans, I'm going to try to keep him to work things out.
Yeah.
And the reason you have to do that is because one, he's the franchise quarterback, and I believe he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
And those don't just grow on
I say
trees.
Mahomes, Rodgers, and I think he's right.
Yeah, he's in that conversation. Yep. If you don't have him 3rd, he has to be at least 5th on the list.
Who would you put above him? Josh Allen?
Russell Wilson is also in that conversation.
Maybe.
Josh Allen,
no.
I can understand some people if they say that, but I still think DeShaun is better because I think he's more mobile than him, and he can do more variety of ways. He may not have the cannon that he has, but he's still a fairly accurate quarterback. He just led the league in yards and touchdowns this year, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He was incredible this year, and doing it with a whole bunch of number 2s and number 3 receivers, and his defense is awful. So as far as I'm concerned, I think DeShaun, you try to hold on to him because, like I said, quarterbacks like him don't grow on trees. Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but come on, they were just a winning team the year prior. Come on.
Whoa. Such drop off from the year before.
Of course, but
to this season.
It's only look, here's the thing though. it's only 1 year. It's only 1 year. And I'm
arguably
not saying,
his best year so far.
Of course, but there are more years to be played. Not every quarterback is going to be a winner every year. If you want to talk about a bad situation, look at Matthew Stafford in Detroit.
Oh, come
look
on.
at him.
Matthew Stafford is not DeShaun Watson.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there are far worse situations that he could be in. And not only that, but you're in a division that is trash every 2 years.
Yeah.
Not only that, but let's not act like he hasn't had his fair share of opportunities now. He's the one.
He was going to bring up
yes,
24.
Yes.
Oh my God.
They were up 24-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, and they blew the lead in the first half alone. Let's not act like he's not a part of the problem also. He's had opportunity. And when I say a part of the problem, I'm not saying he is the problem. He is not the problem in Houston. Yep. Management, McNair got to go. We've been saying that. He's got to go. This man, look at him. Shoving his paper. He's so mad he shoved his paper away.
All of them got to go.
All of them, they just need to get out of there.
Look, we're both from Houston, so we would not like to see somebody of DeShaun's talent and somebody of his caliber leave the city because, we want to have hope for something in football.
Yeah.
If he leaves, forget about competitive football in Houston for the next 3-something years. I don't care who you get. Nobody's going to replace DeShaun Watson. And like we said, he's top 3 to top 5 quarterback in the game right now. And, you wouldn't like to see somebody like that go. But if you think about how bad the front office has been, for DeShaun Watson's career, I think it's best he leaves. He leaves the Texans, requests a trade, leaves the Texans. He has that no trade clause in his contract, so you can't just trade him to I don't know, somewhere that he doesn't want to go to. You have to actually listen to him and trade him where he wants to go. But, he's literally been what has helped this Texans franchise for the last 3 years. He's kept them afloat. He's made them fun to watch. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, all right, picture this, right? Mm-hmm. Picture this. Aaron Rodgers is sitting on his couch, looks up his phone, scrolling through, I don't know, Twitter something. Oh, my God. Devontae Adams got traded. Just picture how bad that would look. Or Patrick Mahomes scrolling through Twitter, and he's like, oh, my God, Tyreek Hill got traded.
Or Travis Kelce.
That's exactly what DeShaun Watson had to deal with. You trade away his number one receiver. I'm going to say this every year till it, I don't know, eventually happens. Maybe God hears me or something. But Bill O'Brien needs to be in jail. I don't care what.
But he's gone.
He's gone. He's gone now. But the damage he did to this franchise was so bad. He deserves jail time. Anyways, I just mentioning his name alone is just making me so angry because what he did to that franchise. Yes, he's a good coordinator. He's an all right coach.
He's not a bad coach.
He's not a bad coach. He's an all right coach. But I can argue he was probably the worst GM.
He's a terrible GM.
Bill O'Brien. Anyways, that's that. But now DeShaun Watson had arguably his best season, his best year statistically in his career. And, there've only been 4 quarterbacks that have had something similar to the season DeShaun Watson had, where he made 70% of his passes, threw for over 4,000 yards. Drew Brees, Dan Marino, and one other guy, I forgot. 3 of those guys won MVP and the Super Bowl. The 4th guy, DeShaun Watson, his team finished 4-12. 4-12. That's how bad that team was. And now DeShaun Watson's like, okay, great. The season was a debacle. The season was an embarrassment. Now let's flip the page. Listen to me. I've got some guys in mind. I can tell you who to hire, the GM, the coach. They're like, all right, talk to me. Oh, yeah, we're not listening to you. We'll go hire who we want to hire. And I think, that's ridiculous because if you call somebody your franchise quarterback, if you call somebody the backbone of this franchise, he should have a say in 95% of the decisions that are being made.
That to me, though, I get what you're saying there, but
he should have a say.
You're acting like there are not other quarterbacks who go through similar stuff.
Not people of that caliber.
Bro, yes, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a say in Matt LaFleur being hired.
Okay, he didn't, but when you talk about...
they drafted Jordan Love. Come on now.
When you talk about GM hire, it matters. Well, that's the coach. When you talk about GM hires, they have decisions on who's on the squad and who's not.
Of course.
So if you go get somebody's like, I don't think D-Hop is good enough. Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You know, and you know
the Patriot tree. It's the
exactly.
Patriot tree.
And basically, DeShaun Watson was like, we need a culture change. And what do the Texans have a history of doing? Hiring Patriots guys.
Yeah.
And when he says we need a culture change, that means, damn it, don't hire anybody from New England. I don't give a damn. Hey, if they're Bill Belichick's cousin's mom, I
don't care if that's his
if
twin.
there's some way related to Bill Belichick or work under him, do not hire them. We need a culture change. We need to go in another direction. And they didn't do that. They still hired somebody from the Patriots, and that's why I think his anger is 100% justifiable.
And by the way, let me say this.
I mean,
by the way, NFL teams, let's just get it out the way now. Patriots tree does not work. It doesn't work. The only one that's really been successful Brian Flores, and even Bill O'Brien to an extent. He was, as a coach, he was somewhat successful with the Texans. At the end of the day, he was up 24 on the Chiefs.
Oh, God.
And I don't know why people just leave that out there. You can't just excuse the fact that they choked versus the Chiefs last year in the playoffs. You know? And like I said, it's only been 1 year, man. Yeah. It's only been 1 year. It was a rough year. It was a bad year. I'm not going to lie. A lot of blown leads. There was a lot of games where they were up in the fourth quarter and they just blew it.
That defense stinks.
Yeah, it smells. But at the end of the day, you know, it's only been a year.
Yeah.
Give it some time.
I mean, the Houstonian in me wants to, give it one more year, you know. Just stay in Houston.
Maybe that's same. Maybe it's
for the love of God, you know what I'm saying? Just stay in Houston.
I don't want
him to leave. Exactly. But, you know, also for the betterment of his career, he needs the Texas organization, man. They have a history of doing this. Like the owner that passed away, rest in peace, Steve McNair. You know, he had a history of saying you don't let the slave run the prison or something like that.
And whatever.
Yeah, whatever that was about. So you know, they have a history of not listening to their star athletes and their star players. But you know, does DeShaun think this is mendable? Maybe if they hire Eric Bieniemy, maybe, we don't know. Is he totally out? He hasn't waived his no trade clause. Maybe he's still planning on staying, but the Estonian in me wants him to stay one more year and try this thing out. But if he decides to leave, I wouldn't fault him for that.
Yeah,
because he is giving this franchise
He's giving them everything.
He's giving them everything, and he's only going to get better. DeShaun Watson is going to get better. I mean, how crazy does that sound? Anyway, speaking of Patriots, guys, Tom Brady, he's about to be in his 14th championship game, and this time not in the AFC, now in the NFC. He's going to be playing Aaron Rodgers, somebody who has been his, I don't want to say his nemesis because, the GOAT debate and this and that. Tom Brady is the GOAT. Game's deal done anyways. But the other team he left, they didn't do so good this year.
Yeah, the Patriots.
The Patriots, they got Cam, but they didn't do so good this year.
At all.
Do you think the Patriots regret letting Tom Brady go?
No. Not at all.
Or should they regret, rather?
Not at all. Not at all. Because at the end of the day, the Patriots, we all know the Patriots were just not good.
Yeah.
They just weren't good. And no receivers. Literally, N'Keal Harry was a bust.
Oh, God.
Jacoby Myers. Like, these guys stink. No receiving core. And it's not just on the receivers. Cam Newton can't throw.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Cam Newton cannot throw. So when you throw that in the mix, and the thing is, they actually were probably better with Cam than they would have been with Tom Brady because their offensive line isn't very good.
Yeah, with that team.
Brady would have probably had to retire after this year with the way things were going. So Brady dodged the bullet leaving New England. And even their defense is all the opt-outs with, COVID-19, Pat Chung, Hightower, Gilmore missed a couple games. So, people are kind of acting like the Patriots, oh, man, look at Brady and all this. I'm like, bro, Brady's in a whole different situation. Yeah. He's got look at the team that Brady has, and then look at the team he had last year. Yeah. And the team that he had last year, they were still able to win 12 games. Yeah. Now, some of those players aren't even there. And they've replaced him with the more mobile quarterback that doesn't have the arm. Yeah. So, to me, the Patriots, they're in a tough situation, and I also believe they spent a lot of money. Yeah. They didn't even have there weren't even moves they could make with their roster. Belichick, I somewhat feel for him because even in some of the games, they were still able to make some games way closer than they should have been. They beat the Cardinals.
Beat the Ravens.
They beat the Ravens. They had some pretty solid wins that showed the Patriots are still somewhat what they used to be. And I think it's very obvious that moving on from Cam Newton, I think they had made that clear that they're going to part ways. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. We can see a reunion between him and Belichick. Who knows?
Very mid guy.
But Belichick, all he needs is a guy that can just throw the ball, and he got him. Because he's not going to be throwing those dumb passes when Belichick is on the sideline. So, to me, the Patriots should not regret one bit losing Tom Brady, because as far as I'm concerned, Brady would be worse. He'd be retired right now if he was still with the Patriots.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Tom Brady does not regret leaving the Patriots, because when you look at the Bucs and the amount of weapons they have on offense, I'm not passing that up. You know, exactly.
I could throw some touchdowns.
I'm 43. I'm not finna, hey, Tom Brady, well, he's happy. With the Patriots, though, I will make a judgment on this to maybe I see the next year and maybe the year after and see what they do with their squad. Because if there's one thing we know about the Patriots, they don't have a good history of drafting wide receivers. Cam Newton was literally throwing to your uncle and my uncle last year. I mean, it was bad. And they still won 12 games with those receivers, But, I know with the Patriots, it's more about their defense more than their offense, so they don't really prioritize their offense. But, Tom Brady wasn't going to stay in that. You know what I'm saying? And there were people around the organization that, thought, we could have did this with another quarterback. We didn't really need Tom or whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Brady is the GOAT, and there's no argument about that. And we're still seeing what he's doing at 43. A lot of damage at 43. But, I think with the Patriots, maybe they can get one guy in the draft, maybe Zach Wilson. Maybe they can get somebody. But, with Bill Belichick, he just needs somebody that can throw the ball.
Yeah.
I'll handle the defensive side of the ball. You handle
do basics.
Basic stuff. Be boring as you can be. We don't need the flashy Mahomes passes. There's a basic guy who can throw the ball. Maybe they can get some couple of pieces at wide receiver. Does N'Keal Harry, does he develop into maybe a number 2 guy? Maybe something. The Bird, what's his name? Bird, that wide receiver. And they've got a couple of guys, a couple of young receivers that, in the hopes of getting better, and they can get an actual young receiver, Jimmy G. Does he return to the Patriots? If they can get a solid piece at quarterback and at wide receiver, maybe they don't really regret letting Tom go. And there's some relationships, right? You've tried for so long. It's just
time to move on.
It's time to move on. We've been together too long. It's boring, the love is not as, flair as it used to be. Let's just go our separate ways. And I think this was one of them, but.
And I was hearing a lot of people, they were like, oh, the Patriots didn't appreciate Tom Brady and all this and that. But, at the end of the day, that defense, Brady is not what he used to be.
The defense carried them.
The defense
carried
carried Brady last year. And I don't think people understand, at a point in time, I believe if, actually, throughout the whole season, if they gave up 17 points, they lost the game.
Yeah.
That's how great that defense was. And not only that, but I saw a lot of people complaining about Brady not having weapons. But Brady has never really had the greatest collection of receivers all the time. To be honest, He's had great receivers here or there.
Randy Moss,
Wes Welker, Gronk.
And Gronk is just been,
remember the Aaron Hernandez years where they had him and Gronk on the field at the same time? But the issue is Brady is not what he used to be. Yep. So he can't just make something out of nothing like he used to with Chris Hogan.
Yeah, exactly.
So as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't just the fact that he didn't have weapons. It was also the fact that Brady wasn't who he used to be. Yeah. They knew that. They knew that. They couldn't give him all the money he was asking for. So as far as if they gave him the money that he was asking for, they would be even worse.
Exactly. I don't think people get that. Those pieces on defense.
Exactly. So to me, they should not regret it one bit. Just move on and cut bait.
Well, the Patriots are in the lottery, and Tom Brady is about to play in his 14th championship game. Man. We know who's winning that divorce. Yeah. But anyways, we'll be right back as we talk about Harden's debut with the Brooklyn Nets. How scary do they look? We'll get right more into a lot more NBA. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. I'm John, and this is David. We're still here, still talking a lot of sports, but we were just talking about the NFL, and now we transition into the NBA. James Harden got traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and he had his debut. He scored 32 points, 14 rebounds, and 12 assists. Actually, 32 points, 14 assists, and 12 rebounds. With the Brooklyn Nets, they beat the Orlando Magic, and they look scary.
Yeah.
My friend, what was your initial reaction to James Harden's debut?
My initial reaction was Harden is Harden, and KD's KD.
Hey, what you mean by Harden is Harden?
Like, he's great.
Oh,
he's a great player.
Okay, just
30-point triple-double. That's a typical Harden
just
day.
Making sure. Yeah.
Typical Harden day.
Slight.
They have great chemistry, and my true takeaway is that they gotta get Kyrie the hell out of there. They gotta trade Kyrie Irving. And the reason I say that is because I know a lot of people are gonna feel some type of way when I say that.
It's kind of like
it's one of those things where they look so good in day one, and it's just day one.
Yeah.
We need more time to see what they look like even together. But because there are obvious holes on the team with defense and their bench, you can move Kyrie and get a haul for him.
Yep.
People forget that, and the fact that he didn't even want to be there, leaving them, and I'm not going to get into all that because I've gone off on Kyrie before. I just think that it's best to just move him, get pieces for him, and just see what you can do. Now, obviously, they can't do that because KD likes Kyrie.
Yeah.
They're all good friends, and if you were to move Kyrie, you'd piss off KD to another level. But I think the best thing is to just try to fill out the rest of that roster because they played the Orlando Magic, and Vucevic was giving them buckets.
Yep.
Vucevic is a problem, and Vucevic is a really talented big.
Player,
yeah, he's a really talented big. He's not bad. He's probably, I'll put him in my top 10 centers in the NBA. He's a really good player.
I would too.
He's doing good in Orlando over there. But in regards to the Nets, imagine what's going to happen when they have to face a Giannis.
Yep.
Or when they have to face, and ironically, they're facing the Bucs as we speak. Imagine what's going to happen when they have to face an Anthony Davis, or Joel Embiid. It's going to be that much tougher, And I just believe that Jeff Green, as good as he is, he's not going to hold. DeAndre Jordan, as good as he is, he can only play so many minutes.
Yep.
And you run the risk of injury with somebody like that at that age, playing the minutes that he's playing, with the task and responsibility that he's going to have as well. And when they run into some of these playoff matchups, I think a lot of people are just expecting their offense to do all the work for them, and that's understandable. I get that. But you can't just ignore defense. Defense matters a lot. And they struggled on that side of the ball, even against the Magic. And I expect them to keep struggling because they don't have any great defenders on that team. Kevin Durant's capable, but he's just capable. Harden is a solid defender when he puts in effort, but solid, that's about it.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving isn't great on the defensive side of the ball. Jeff Green is decent, but there's only so much he can do. And like I said, DJ is old. So to me, they don't really have a lot of great defensive pieces. They even let go of their two best defenders, Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, all for bringing in James Harden. So they got to bank on offense working, and if that doesn't work, I think you move Kyrie Irving and get some pieces for him. And to me, I don't even think it's that big of a deal to move Kyrie anyway because Kyrie doesn't even want to be there, like I said. So as far as I'm concerned, my takeaway is they look great. They have great chemistry, which is to be expected. Harden and KD have played together in the past. They are familiar with each other. They work out together. All of that shebang. But I think if they really want to take this team to the next level and build around Harden and KD, guys that actually want to play basketball and be with the team, then you move Kyrie Irving and get pieces for him. That's just my personal opinion. That's what I took away.
I mean, I totally agree with everything you said, but my biggest takeaway from James Harden's debut was, number one, he looks happy. James Harden's happy. We're happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Rockets fans, I've been reading your tweets. Stop crying. He's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Okay, get over it. You've got Oladipo, John Wall. Move on. James Harden is now Christian Wood.
Hey, chill out. He's nice.
He's a good player. Good player.
Nice,
Not James Harden, but now Harden's with the Nets,
goodness.
and watching both of them, KD and Harden, just do damage. Yes, it's the Orlando Magic, but I mean, still, I would say they're a playoff team. They did make the playoffs the last 2 years, so I would say
they're playing.
Playing team. So they're still an all right team. I'm looking at that team like, how do you beat them? How do you beat the Brooklyn Nets? What way? I mean, we want to talk about the defense, but I think if you try, that's good enough. Just make an effort. All right? Just make an effort.
Now
on
you
defense.
care about just trying.
Hey. Just make an effort on defense. And I think that will be
believe this guy,
that will be good enough for this
cannot
Brooklyn
believe
Nets
him.
team. They don't need to play Kawhi, Patrick Beverly level type defense. They just need to try. Trying on defense is good enough. Hey,
no. You're not gonna get away with this. You're not gonna get away with this because this is the same guy. Guys, you can pull up the footage. I'm not even lying. This is the same guy that every time I say, "Oh, Jokic is solid on D," not solid, but I say, "Jokic is not a liability. This guy's not bad on D." All he says in response is, "I don't get why y'all reward guys for trying. Just because you try doesn't mean you're good." Isn't that what you say?
You're not going to pull up anybody in the game right now that you can say, okay, that guy's better than KD offensively, better than Harden offensively. All right? They're just that good on offense, okay? They are just that good on offense that you have no answers for them. James Harden, first of all, I don't know why people are acting shocked that he had 14 assists. He's always been a playmaker.
Yeah, he's a great playmaker.
Let me remind you, James Harden did lead the league in assists one season. I think about 3 or 4 seasons ago.
2017.
He did lead the league in assists. So he's a willing passer. You put the ball in his hands, they're not much better creators than James Harden in the game right now. And now let's bring up the one-on-ones and the scoring. It's just nobody can stop James Harden one-on-one. Nobody can hold James Harden.
I want to ask you this, though.
Okay.
I want to ask you this. Do you believe that Harden needs to change the way he scores in order to be more effective with this team? Because when you look at Harden and KD likes the mid-range, but he can also take it to the three-point line as well. Kyrie's a good mid-range shooter. He can take it to the three-point line. Do you think Harden needs to bring more variety in his game? Because Harden is a great mid-range shooter.
Yeah.
Harden is actually he's a very complete offensive player. He can do everything you want. On ball, off ball, post-ups, mid-range game, finishing and attacking the basket. Do you think he needs to add more variety? Because we've seen over the last couple of years, especially under Mike D'Antoni, or should I say primarily under Mike D'Antoni, he loves his step backs and finishing at the rim, but he takes no mid-range jumpers. So do you think he needs to add more variety to his game?
I don't think he needs to change his game that much. The mid-range, leave that to Kyrie and KD. Let them take the mid-range. James Harden, the step-back three is what made you as lethal as you are right now. So I don't see a reason to change that. And, when you have the complete package, and I think KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, they don't have that much weakness on offense. When you talk about their offensive package and, the dribbling, the creativity, the ball handling, the shooting, they don't have that much weakness. So with James Harden, I wouldn't say he needs to change his game that much. Yes, I think the ball will be in his hands a lot more because I think he's a better creator than Kyrie Irving.
Yeah,
he's a better passer. So the ball will be in his hands a lot more. But, I think he knows when it's my time to score the ball. And I think he won't really change that much. He's a willing passer, like I already said. He led the league in assists, and he had 14 assists in his debut. So he's a willing passer. He will pass the ball. If you're playing with KD, you're going to give the ball to KD. Yeah. You're going to pass
He knows KD.
Yeah, you're going to pass the ball. Yeah. So, let's forget all that, he's selfish. And no, he's not. He's a willing passer. He knows how to assist the ball. He's a great creator. And now you guys are seeing it on full display when he plays with somebody as lethal as KD. Now everything opens up. The floor is more open. And, everything just looks as crisp as it is. And when I'm watching this Nets team, I'm like, especially nobody in the East, I don't think any team in the East right now can compete with this team. I think every game will be over in 5 or 6. 5 or 6. Every game will be over in 5 or 6. But
Nets in 6?
Yes. And now let's talk about Kyrie. We don't know what the hell is going to happen, but we just gotta hope KD and James Harden will get you to the finals. Will KD and Harden beat the Lakers or anybody who comes out the West? That's the question I have right now about this Nets team. I think right now, without Kyrie, this team makes the finals because Harden and KD are just that lethal that they both
make. So Kyrie could mess that up.
He can mess it up. He can help them out. He can mess it up in the sense of
chemistry,
ego, his antics, the ego, this and that here and there.
But he starts talking about the earth being flat again.
Exactly. We know what Kyrie does off the court. Let's not get into that because, Kyrie. But he can also help them when it comes, like, let's say they make the finals. He could be that third piece that really causes damage. The closer for like the Lakers when they play the Lakers or the Clippers or whoever comes out of the West. He could be that third piece that will help the Nets, move to that next step. And I also want to address the bench as I did before. Yes, they have 3 open roster spots, but guys, they're not getting any scorers anymore off the bench. They're going to go get a defensive player, somebody who's a rim protector, because...
Joakim Noah?
Somebody. One out of all of those three guys is going to be running with the bench unit at all times. It could be KD, it could be Harden, it could be Kyrie. One of them is always going to be with the bench unit. So don't worry about their depth. Don't worry about none of that. They're not getting any scores anymore. They're perfectly fine. The defense will be fine. They will try on defense. Okay? They will try on defense. Now, how do you handle them on offense? That's the big question, and I think nobody, especially in the East, will have an answer to this offensive package, and I think they will win the championship.
Are you calling it? Hey, you want to put money on that?
The Nets will win the championship.
We're gonna put money on that. Don't worry.
Still too early in the season. We don't know. It's still too early in the season. They're gonna make the finals. I'll tell you that. I'll put my house rent on that. They're gonna make the finals. I'll tell you that. Now, how will they be in the finals when they get there? That's still to be seen. Will everybody be healthy? You know,
that's another concern.
That's another concern. You know, will
health.
Kyrie be on the team?
Kyrie's
will this and that? Will KD be healthy for 72 games and some? That's still to be seen. But you know, I think this team right now is presently constructed. They're a total team, complete package. They've got weapons from the back end to the front end, and they're going to be tough to deal with. That will be something to watch out for. But now let's also move into another team in the East that I think
abomination.
We are disappointed at this stage with the Washington Wizards because we had high hopes for them. They traded John Wall for Russell Westbrook, and we think, okay, this team is good enough to make the playoffs. But they started 3-8, and they've looked really, really bad. They've looked awful.
Disgusting.
Do you think the Wizards should trade Bradley Beal?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What?
I think they should. That team is.
He leads the league in scoring.
I know. He leads the league in scoring, averaging 35 points per game. There's just nothing they're doing with him.
I'm confused. When I watch them, I'm confused.
Yeah, like what are they even doing? They're competitive for no reason. Yeah. They're just there. They're just letting anybody score.
Yeah.
And they're even wasting Denny Advia, the pick that they got in the first round. You know, he looks kind of scared offensively. I'll admit, but put the ball in his hands a little bit more. Let him create for others because he's a solid little playmaker. He can do that, but. As far as I'm concerned, they should trade him because it doesn't look like they're doing anything at this point. They're just a waste of they're a waste of space.
Absolutely. I mean, at first I was like, okay, trade Bradley Beal because if you look at the Wizards and if we're in the Wizards front office right now and we're discussing, you know, the future of this franchise, you're not going to be competitive in the East for the next 5 years
at all
because Giannis is going to be there, Joel is going to be there, KD is going to be there. Kyrie's going to be there. All those guys. The young Celtics crew, they're going to be there.
But I don't think that it's impossible for them to be competitive. And the reason I say that is because they're still...
Okay, but with somebody of Bradley Beal's caliber, it's not just to make the 8th seed. He's a second option on the championship team.
I get that. Well, I mean, that's yet to be seen.
Yes.
That's yet to be seen.
He's a second option on the championship team. I think he's just that good.
I think that if you're the Wizards, what you should do, if you really want to keep Beal, what you should do is make a trade. And the people that should be involved in that trade, Denny Advia, Rui Hachimura. Those are your two. Anybody that can play defense, even average, you bring them in. Because whether it's a wing that can play D, a big that can play D, you need that. And even in the big side, they lost Thomas Bryant already due to an ACL injury. And now Robin Lopez is starting for them at center. No, that's not going to work. He's better on defense than Thomas Bryant, but he should not be starting at center for any team in the NBA. I don't think I should have to explain that. So if I'm the Washington Wizards, if you're going to try to keep Bradley Beal, you have to let those young pieces go. And it hurts.
Yeah.
I know it hurts because they have promise. Danny has a lot of promise. Hachimura has shown some promise. But at this point, they're not what you need. And what you need is to convince Bradley Beal to stay. Or at least, because he's already re-signed.
Yeah.
But to convince him to not want out.
I mean, it comes down to who's more important to you. Bradley Beal on that young crew. And I think that young crew is not even...
They're not the priority.
They're not. I mean, Bradley Beal, you have somebody of that caliber is averaging 35 points a game.
Leading the league.
He should be competing for a playoff spot, but now they started the season 3-8. Russell Westbrook is going to be out for a month, And basically, Bradley Beal, I don't know if it's gonna have to average 40 for them to stay above the water in the East.
He's averaging 35 and they have a losing record.
Exactly, but I don't know what they're going to do with this team. I mean, trade him and get some picks, maybe not. I don't know. Whoever.
I know the Lakers fans. Are
I would take some calls. I would take some calls and
see
what I can get because he has a lot of value, huge value, especially with what he's doing right now, shooting about 50% from the field and 37% from the 3-point line. He's still very fresh. He's still about just 27, very young. Yeah, he's a weapon that a playoff team could use.
And it's crazy because like Beal, when he came into the NBA, like I remember they were comparing him to like Ray Allen because of the shooting, which they do to every shooter.
He got a bag.
Yeah, he has a bag. And like when he got into the league, we were like, oh, this is Wall's sidekick. Yeah. And then when Wall like started suffering injuries, Beal started growing as a player. Last year he averaged 30 points a game. We were like, oh, this guy got snubbed from the All-Star game. And then this year he's putting up crazy numbers yet again, and they're still losing. And you see those expressions from Beal on the sideline where he just looks angry. He just looks mad. And I pity him. I pity guys like him, Levine, Cat, having to put up these monster numbers just for the sake of being at the bottom of their conference.
Exactly. He should be competing on the playoff team. But anyways, the Wizards, we don't know what the hell they're doing, so I can't tell you what they will do. But we just hope they don't waste away Bradley Beal's prime career and at least, give him a chance to compete at a higher level.
For the sake of his career.
Yeah, exactly. For the sake of his career. Anyways, but we move on to another Eastern Conference team, Philadelphia 76ers. I talked about how they're the biggest losers in the James Harden trade, and so far I have been right. Because the person who was supposedly supposed to be in a package, Ben Simmons, he's a great defender, but he's not having his best season offensively. What in the hell is wrong with Ben Simmons? I mean, people think I make fun of Philly fans. I've tried to be nice to you, but at first you didn't want to listen to me because you thought Ben Simmons was, I'm not letting Ben Simmons go. He's still young. He can defend, this and that, I'm not trading for James Harden, blah, blah, rubbish. I would tell you, even before, like they said, Daryl Morey was going to trade him.
Yeah.
It was in a package with Matthias Thybulle. He was getting traded. And in order for Ben to get traded, guess who had to sign off on that? Joel Embiid. Yeah. So, Daryl called Joel like, we got to get James Harden. What do you think? Hey, I'm pretty sure Joel was like, hey, get him the hell out of here. Because he stinks on offense. Like, what has he gotten better at?
Nothing.
His rookie year offensively.
Only defense.
What has he gotten better at? He's airballing threes. He's it's finally taking them. We've been pleading for 5 years.
I know his confidence is so down right now.
It's awful.
So down.
Just don't even take him because it looks bad.
Chill out. He got to take him. Bro, come on, that's hypocritical.
He was literally the closest.
I cannot believe this.
The closest defender was 10. Oh, okay. He got to take him.
I'm about to say he got to take him.
He's not going to make him. Okay? He's got to take him. He's not going to make him. The airball three, he was as wide open as you get as a 3-point shot. But I just think, okay, if you're not going to shoot the perimeter shot, now become a post player. He's not going to be that.
But he's the point guard, so. And that shit is dead.
A point guard that can shoot, you're not going to go far with that.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm saying, I don't know what they're going to. Hey, I will put him in a package for Bradley Beal. I don't know if Washington will accept that.
Nah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that one. I heard somebody also talk about Zach LaVine. Ben Simmons honestly, is young.
As a Bulls fan, I would gladly take Ben Simmons on the team. And the reason I would gladly take him is because our young core is built really well. And if you give us Ben Simmons and pair him with guys like Carter, Kobe White, guys that can space the floor, that's a deadly young team right there. And Patrick Williams.
I don't see how you can move Ben Simmons to the 4 because he's just going to clog the paint up a lot more than he already does with Joel Embiid being there. Yeah. But I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't have the answer. You don't have the answer. Is he going to get a jump shot?
You ain't got the answer. You ain't got the answer, John. You ain't got the answer.
Is he going to get a jump shot? We've been asking for the last 3 years. I don't know. How is he going to get better as a player? He's going to be a great defender. He's going to be that for the next 7-8 years. But I don't think Joel needs somebody who can play good defense. Now, he needs somebody who can carry some of the load offensively and who can help him out because Ben Simmons, he's not that guy. In the playoffs, we know how they're going to play him. They're going to play him the same way they play Giannis. They're gonna build that wall around him and dare you to hit the outside
They don't even
shot.
build the wall, bro.
They don't even build.
off.
They just let him
They just let him whatever.
Exactly, and we know you can't win like that, especially if he's the second option and he's supposedly the franchise point guard.
I want to say something. I want to say something, and I don't know how Philly fans are going to take this, but you take it however you want.
Philly fans, you deserve this because I have tried to, be nice to you and say, give us, for Houstonians, get James Harden, get somebody, Bradley Bills.
But to be fair, I think Fertitta is the reason that they didn't get
Harden.
Yeah,
absolutely. He wasn't doing business with Daryl Morey.
They tried.
Absolutely.
Daryl Morey knows.
I think they thought they had a deal.
Yeah, they thought they did.
Tim and Fertitta wasn't going to do business with Daryl Morey.
And by the way, the Tim and Fertitta, you're ridiculous. I would have taken that trade if I was him. But
you get Oladipo, who doesn't even want to be there, supposedly. But
but hey, he got that Nigerian blood, and Houston is definitely going to treat him right with that.
I mean, I think the Rockets got a nice piece. They did, but now Philly,
the picks.
Philly, I think now you're the third best team in the East, and you're not gonna make. You're probably gonna make noise if Joel is healthy, but with Ben Simmons, you're not winning that much. You're only gonna go so far.
But let me say this to all the Philadelphia fans out there. I've said this time after time after time. They had a couple years ago, I made a comment in one of my videos, and I stated they're going to have to pick between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a post player. Joel Embiid is a post player. Ben Simmons is a point guard, and he dominates the post. So when you have both of them on the same team, it's hard for them to coexist, but one of them cannot space the floor.
Exactly.
And it's not even the fact that he can't space it. He won't even try.
At all.
Imagine if Simmons was already shooting threes from at least his sophomore year, because you give him a pass his rookie year because he's a rookie. Sophomore year, you show more flashes of at least trying. He didn't even do so. And teams just started adapting. Then you get to the point where the guy had 0 points in a playoff game. Or, 1 point in a playoff game. Then the next year, with Jimmy Butler as their closer, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, we lost by one lucky shot, blah, blah, blah. You still lost. You still lost.
You still lost.
And not only that, but then the next year, Ben Simmons gets hurt. This is their last year.
I think this year is it.
This is their last year. If they can't get to the finals this year, not only will you be put in a position where you have to make a move, but maybe Joel Embiid might want to trade.
Exactly.
And Joel Embiid is turning 27 years old this year.
He ain't got time to be fooling around.
He doesn't have no time. With all the injuries on his body and him getting up there in age, his time is now. So you missing out on the opportunity to pair him with James Harden is a hella huge loss.
Try to tell you.
Humongous loss.
Try to tell you.
When you signed Daryl Morey as your GM, yes, you made some great moves, but you essentially threw the James Harden trade out the window. Because Fertitta is not going to trade Harden to Philly unless it's the last option and they got no more trade offers. I guarantee you the reason that this trade took so long to happen is because he didn't want to send him to Philly in the first place.
Yep.
So as far as I'm concerned, all the Philadelphia 76ers fans, the time is now for Joel Embiid. And if y'all can't get the job done this year and at least get a finals appearance, that era is dead and useless from this point forward. That's just how I feel.
I mean, but let's hope they're at least in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. Let's hope.
That's not good enough to me.
Maybe that will give Philly fans some hope. But I'll tell you this much, as I've been saying for the last year or two, you're not going that far with Ben Simmons.
At all.
Just get it out your mind. He's
all.
a good player, great defender.
Excellent defender.
Excellent defender, but
you're not winning with
the way we hold him to the level we hold him to, 12 points a game is not going to cut it. That's not good enough. Airballing threes, that's also not going to cut it. But anyways, Philly fans, you've got a whole lot to deal with. Hopefully this year is your year. Maybe.
We know it's
not going to be a year.
We know it's not.
Next year is probably not also going to be a year. So you're probably losing the risk of losing Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
But anyways.
And health.
I think
his health is a huge concern. You don't know how long he's going to be able to hold up.
Absolutely.
Especially with him not being in the best of shape from year to year. I mean, let's not forget that one photo of him eating a cheeseburger on the sideline.
Exactly.
So as far as I'm concerned, Embiid, you run the risk of him not only wanting out because they can't win with Simmons, but you also run the risk of him suffering, a career-altering injury.
I think they've got a 2-year span to get it right. And if they don't,
time to
good luck to you, Philly fans. But anywho, that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back with more episodes. Stay tuned on the CRYOUT app. First possession here. Once again, I'm your host, John Iagoro, here with my partner, David Ogedembe. We'll be right back with another episode. You guys stay tuned. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Have a great day, man.
Have a great day.